Before you watch this interview, I have a very important announcement. If you are watching this and it's before the date of November 1st, I need you to make sure you hit subscribe, like this video or any other video on here, and then go to my Facebook or my Instagram page. There will be a post talking about the chance to win a $25 gift card. On that post, I need you to say, hey, I subscribed and I liked whatever video. Then you are entered to win, okay? So on November 2nd, I'm gonna take all the names of everyone that entered, put them in a bucket or a hat, something like that, and let Wilder pull a name out, and then whoever's on that sheet of paper is the winner of the gift card. And you get to choose if it is Target or Meijer, so you pick. Again, that is gonna happen on November 2nd, 2025. That is how my family, we decide what movies we're gonna watch. We all get to write a movie down on a slip of paper and then we draw it out of a hat. It's the fair way to do it. So I will stop talking and let's get to the interview. Welcome to Petite Professionals. Today I have Jessica Rose. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for us to get to connect further.
Yay! So I got to be on your podcast. Oh gosh, was that like, did we film that a couple weeks ago? I don't know. It's a blur.
Yes. What's really funny is it goes live this Monday. So both our episodes might be going live at the same time. How fun is that?
Have fun. We didn't even plan it. Well, thank you for letting me be on yours and thanks for coming on mine.
Yes, same.
So I'm having some connection issues. So I apologize if you're watching this, if it freezes once in a while. We're just going to power through. But I appreciate your time, and I would love to first just kind of hear about like what do you do? What is your title? And then we'll dive into your work and life experiences.
So I do a lot of different things. So my joke is my title is like Champion of Hope because everything that I do kind of ties around that hope initiative. So the host of the podcast, Unbreakable Hope. I'm the owner of my company's formal name is Rosebud Consulting. I do suicide and overdose education advocacy. I'm a big researcher. My biggest claim to fame is I'm the primary author of the VA's Toolkit on Suicide Mortality Reviews. So that's something that I really, really love. And I get to work on really cool contracts and projects with coroners and medical examiners and state agencies. So that's my like really, really businessy side of me. I also have a product store with a lot of just inspirational, different kind of products like gratitude journals, just encouraging people to seek the light through the darkness. I run a women's veterans organization and I run my veteran and para rowing program here in the state of Oklahoma. So that's like a little tidbit of the many of different hats that I wear.
Mm-hmm. Many.
Full-time caregiver to my husband with brain cancer who is in a wheelchair and nonverbal. So I stay super busy, but I love it that way.
Amazing. Yeah, you are a busy, impressive woman. So let's go back in time. Can you tell me a little bit about your education and some of your experiences that have led you to be the individual you are that can wear all these hats?
Definitely. So I take that back even before my college degrees. Both my parents were active duty Air Force. So I had very unique dynamics in my home. My dad was pretty much deployed my entire life, and my mom was raising 3 kids on her own. So I had this mother figure that really taught me things without purposely teaching me. That we learn through watching was that there's no giving up, right? You go through it. And I like to say there's 2 options in life. We either let life go through us or we go through it. So I just saw my mom constantly, like she was working and she was moving and she was handling all these things. There wasn't a choice to quit. So that really instilled in me. Plus my parents, like true Air Force veterans with the service before self. So I went on and joined the Marine Corps. And while in the Marine Corps, I also got my associate's degree. So I just got general associate's degree there. I worked during the day. I'd go to school at night. It was a pretty nice setup how my base had certain universities come in and sponsor to do these classes. So it made it a lot more attainable to get something like that. And then I went on, after I got out of the Marine Corps, I came back to Oklahoma, where I'm from, and I got my bachelor's and then master's degrees. So my bachelor's was primarily criminal justice. There is kind of
Okay.
a fun little side story to that. It ended up being general studies, but that's so I could go on to start my master's in crime intelligence analysis that fall. Uh, a little
Mm.
a little misunderstanding, shall we say, about a foreign language and someone's expectations and the actual rules. But I said, okay, fine, I'll just go around you and then I'll just switch to general studies and then I'll just see you in the fall for the master's program. All right.
There you go. I like it.
And then I also helped develop a master's program on religion and culture. So that was probably one of the coolest things. I got to do two master's programs at the same time. And I was an unofficial student A with my professor. It was just something I had a passion about and something I wanted to learn more about. So he took me on as basically a student teacher, and we kind of built this program.
What?
And
That's so cool.
yes. And then we were told it was too nichey, which is really crazy. So I get this all the time when people are like, "You have a master's in religion and culture?" I'm like, "Yes." They're like, "Oh, where can I get one?" I'm like, "Well, the university ultimately said it was too nichey." So, it's really cool that all these people were really excited about it. I wish
Mhm.
the university would have believed us that it was going to be a very attractive master's program. But that's my formal like school education program. So it's
Yeah.
funny. I went in with my education as CIA, but I work in behavioral health now.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I love that you were like, you know what? I'm going to make my own path.
Yes, it's so the longer version of that story, I can't remember the proper name, but the person who's like over the department, uh, she said, "Oh, well, you have to have foreign language." And I'm like, I was an interpreter for sign language when I was in California. Like I've taken sign language on a collegiate level.
Mhm.
And she said, "Well, this university does not consider it as a foreign language." Challenge accepted. So I go to the head of the language department and I said, "Hey, I need you to sign off on this form that you're approving my sign language as a foreign language." He said, "Well, we don't offer that here." I said, "It doesn't matter if the school offers it or not. I've taken it collegiately. It's on my
Mhm.
transcript. I just need you to sign this off." And he says, "Well, it's American Sign Language." I said, "Okay." And he said, "So I don't consider it a foreign language." So I did what any Marine kind of still fresh out of the Marine Corps. He was, "Okay, all right. You think you're funny?" So I started signing to him. And I stood there looking at him and I said, "Oh, do you not know what I just said?" I said, "Oh, that's right,
It's
because it's a
American.
foreign concept." "Oh, you don't understand it." Oh. And he signed my form and was like, "Get out of my office. Like, just go. I don't like I never want to see you again." Like he was very upset, but I was like, "I got it." Woo. So I take the papers
Yeah.
back to my department and I'm like, "Boom, I'm ready." And she said, no, rips it up. And I was like, "Oh, okay. I should have made a copy of that. I know
Yeah.
better." But I'm like, "What is your problem?" And she said, "Well, if you're going to go state, you need to learn Spanish. If you're going to go federal, you need to learn Arabic." And I said, "Okay, well, where's that in writing?" And she said, "Well, I'm the one saying it." I said, "Okay, well, in writing, it says foreign language. So I'm going to go take French." So we got in this whole fight. But the thing was, is I had one semester left. So I would
Yeah.
literally have to continue my bachelor's for a second semester to do 2 semesters of a language. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, that's right.
No.
What? So that's when I said, okay, fine, I'll just switch to general studies and I'll just come back and start my master's in the fall instead of like still being in my bachelor's just to like rid-
Yeah.
ridiculous. So
Well, I'm glad. See, like these interviews, I am always impressed when people are told no or there's like a door that's going to potentially shut and you push your way, find your own way like that. I love that. So kudos. See, and everyone's path looks different. And the way to get there, you have to make it work for you and general studies.
yeah, like what's the matter? I'm gonna get a master's degree anyway. Nobody's gonna care what I got as my bachelor's. Whoop de doo.
I know. Well, and okay. And whoever's watching this, things change. So I am 38. Yes, I'm 38. I feel like after I turned 32, I was just like, ah. But so when I went to school, I've always been very like creative. I was like, you know what's safe is I'm gonna get my bachelor's in art. And there's not a lot you could do along with that. And so I'm really good with people. So I've just kind of worked my way up in management and I have a bachelor's in art. But now because the world needs therapists, I was able to apply and and I'm getting my master's in clinical mental health because I had like a 3.8 GPA. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter that my degree is in art. I have a high enough GPA so I can, because back in the day, you had to go to school for psychology.
Mm-hmm. There's
So
it's so like I said, so many things have changed, and that's one thing is that when it comes to this very expensive piece of paper, a lot of it is can you be dedicated to something, and can you put in
mhm,
the work to actually achieve something? So I
mhm,
think that's a big thing. But even then, there's so many different options. Like there's trade schools, there's the on the job training, there's so many different routes, and you can always cross back and forth and use one to build onto another one. And that's what I really love about how flexible things are and how much we have life skills and life experience that really grows
mhm,
us. Like I joke, I'm not an RN, but to tell you what, I have had to do so much stuff medical for my husband and the amount of research I put in to his brain cancer and neurological conditions and stuff. I'm like, I was like, I'm a researcher, it's what I do, but I do a lot of neuroscience based research for both the behavioral health side of the work that I do and for my husband's condition. I
mhm.
feel like a nurse a lot of the times, and I use a lot of the medical jargon. And people always ask me like, "What do you do for a living? What do you do for work? How do you know so much?" I'm like, I'm a researcher." People take researchers and like put them on like they're not really important. They don't put a lot of value in the job of a researcher, but that's what drives initiatives. And that's what I love so much about it is it's like I can open people's perspectives and get them to really think about different things by being in a non-sexy job. But then I don't know.
No,
I guess I try and make it sexy. I Barbie it up.
you do. And I know I appreciate it because I have to write papers now and I have to look up journal articles. And they have to be like legit.
All the research you have to put into an actual author and the magazine that the or the publication that it is put in to know if is that person even legit? Is the publication that it's in legit? Like you have to do a
Mhm.
research project just to know if the research that you've read is valid. What?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I was so offended. My husband the other day was like, "Oh, well, make sure it's a .org, not .com." I'm like, "Listen, it is not my first rodeo."
And
But
that's funny.
okay,
Even that isn't valid. Like
I
the
know, like, because you could just like buy a .org, but um, but you speaking of websites, you have Rosebud Consulting. Is that correct? Did I say okay? So tell me a little bit about that.
so that's where I do a lot of my contracting work. I did kind of do a rebrand because every time I turn around, people are like, "What's Rosebud Consulting?" I'm like, "It's me. Me, myself, and I. I am Rosebud Consulting." Me apparently trying to sound a little bit too professional threw people off. So my website itself is jessicarosehjohnson.com, as well as my Instagram is under Jessica Rose H. Johnson, but that's my business side. So I do all kinds of things ranging mostly in suicide and overdose prevention specifically, but my current contracts that I'm working on now have a lot more to do with the death investigation side. So
Wow.
one thing that a lot of people don't understand is how deaths are ruled, how we get the data that's actually being used to drive the initiatives. And a big
Yes.
piece of it is we get the data, and let's say the information we get is accurate. Because there's so many problems there too. So if we have actual accurate data, it has to be cleaned. There's this whole process where data can't just be released once it's gathered. You have to actually clean the data and make sure it's valid, like we were just talking about when you're doing a research project. You have to go through
Mhm.
and make sure the data is good, and then you have to get all these approvals before the data can actually be released to the public. So, what we do is we build our suicide initiatives based on data that is about 3 years old.
Oh.
But the other piece of that is, you notice I said suicide initiatives, not overdose initiatives, because what happens is there is a very interesting gray area when it comes to ruling deaths. So, there's a difference between manner of death and cause of death, right? And that's where it gets a little muddy as well. So the
Yeah.
CDC puts out the top 10 leading causes of death. But on their top 10 leading causes of death, they have a mixture of causes of death and manners of death. Thus making that chart actually inaccurate and confusing for myself as a researcher. I'm like, but that's a manner of death, not a cause of death. So
Yeah. My head was like,
you're gonna be like, you're gonna go back to this and you're like, Everything I've been told is a lie. So,
Well, I listen to so much true crime, so I'm like thinking of like all the times I've heard cause versus manner. But yes, sorry, carry on.
so like this is like the like a soapboxy thing for me as far as like an issue. So manner of death would be suicide. Cause of or suicide or unintentional injury. A cause of death would be overdose. So overdose could be a suicide or it could be an unintentional injury. But what happens is coroners and medical examiners, there's right? They're charged with proving intent. So you're
Mm,
putting it on one human being to be able to prove if another human being's actions were meant in a manner to result in death. So there's a lot of stuff there instantly, right? Where it's like, how am I to really know that? So what happens is that death will be ruled unintentional injury or accident. Sorry. Um, so accident is manner of death. So it's unintentional injury. So the overdose would be ruled as accident rather than suicide almost
okay,
all the
you
time.
have to
So
prove
there's
it.
got to be a lot be able to say. And majority of the time, so I've interviewed medical examiners and coroners all over the US. And I asked them, I said, well, what really helps you determine like what side of the fence this goes on?
Mhm.
And they said the big thing is like cut dry is was there a note left?
Okay, I was gonna say normally there's like some type of communication, but that could be.
In a research study done by Harvard, less than 25% of gunshot wounds to the head left notes. So if we even just consider 25% of
Mhm.
overdose deaths being ruled as suicide, so it turns like this whole like you see how like this very muddy and very messy situation.
Mhm.
So when I give speeches about mental health and suicide and overdose, I always say we lose over 300 people on average a day in the U.S. True suicides, but also it's the rest of those overdose deaths that we don't really know. And at the end of the day, what suicides and overdoses have in common is pain. People are trying to end their pain.
Mhm.
And this goes into like the greater issue where um working with healthcare systems just goes in the healthcare systems. It's the systems. And that's something I think people forget a lot too. It's not the people in the system.
Mhm.
They're just trying to do the best they can. It's the systems that are failing them time and time again. And I could go on a whole hour of things that have happened to my husband where I've been able to document it's system failure left and right.
Mhm.
But if people can't go to their healthcare system and get their pain addressed and resolved, they're going to go outside the system and they're going to
Yep.
go to what has helped someone else.
Mhm.
Thus, why street drugs then become the issue that they are. Thus, why you're seeing so many deaths that are from fentanyl because people can't go to our healthcare systems. It's also how suicides come in. The pain could be a physical pain that they can't take on anymore. It could be an emotional pain that they can't take on anymore, which goes back to what you were saying is why, hey, you're getting this degree because we need more therapists. We need more people helping. Because as we're doing all of this, one thing that usually doesn't get talked about is the ACEs score. So I know
Yes.
that, yeah, the adverse childhood experiences. I'm not sure
Mhm.
if you've covered this in any of your chats before, but this is a lot of stuff that I just get to do as a researcher and educator. So I joke, I was like, I will come to any group that invites me out to speak to them and give them a deep dive and make it specific to what they're working on.
Mhm.
Because all these little nuances that make a big difference when you're trying to build an initiative. So we're building initiatives off old, outdated data that is incomplete data, and we're focusing on things that wouldn't make the highest impact because that's what we think is actually going to make the highest impact, but it's not. So
Yeah.
now we're taking taxpayer dollars and putting it into initiatives that aren't effective, and lives aren't really actually getting saved in the end,
Mhm.
at least not on a scale in which we could. So those are the cool things that I get to work on is working with groups to build that data collection, to clean it up for people to better understand this whole process. So as they're building their initiatives, they think back. When we talk about lethal means, everyone just instantly thinks, oh, it's a firearm, it's a gunshot wound to the head for a suicide. I'm like, that's not always the case. Your lethal means are also medications and also
Mhm.
pain. Pain is lethal because we all crazy when we in pain too. It's just like we don't have sleep, we can't think right. Right?
Yeah.
We can't function. We can't move our bodies, which our bodies need to also function and to not flare up
Mhm.
other things and cause more pain. So it just becomes this whole, again, jumbled mess of chaos. So I get to work on all kinds of different projects, state, federal, organizations, to look into what they're building as an initiative and help them understand their data better and help them build initiatives that are going to be more beneficial with the money that they have.
I love that you do that. That's amazing. And I can like feel your passion. It's needed work and it's stuff that I had no idea. I had no idea. I didn't know that the depth of what you do. So I'm glad you're using your super brain research for good.
Yeah, I love it. And it is something where it's funny because a lot of people are like, you do so many things. Like sometimes it's like, what do you do? Or in the pageant world, like, well, what is your platform? And I'm like, well, it kind of ties in to all the things. It all goes back to hope,
Hmm.
like hope that things can get better, right? Believing in yourself and where you've been and how far you've come, because we forget there's so many moments in our life that we've gone through that we didn't think we could survive that moment, but we did,
Hmm.
right? That was just that moment. So I joke now is that if I ever get to a point in my life where I'm looking back on, my husband being in ICU for 9 days, me not getting sleep for about 11 days, right? And going through all of that. And I look back and think, okay, that was the hardest part in my life at that time. And I got through it. This is just the hardest part. Like, Lordy, 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 don't send me any more like that. Okay. I've done enough. All right. But I do joke that there's so many times in our lives where that was the hardest point in our life at that moment.
Correct.
And the other thing that we forget a lot is kid probs. So for kids, whatever it is, we're like, that's nothing. Right? We have a lot more life experience and a lot more stuff
That's
we've been
big
through.
for them. That's
It's huge. It's their world. That's the hardest thing that they have had to go through in this moment in their life.
hmm.
And
Hmm.
if we just take that step back to think this is really silly and a bit trivial, and instead of saying, hey, when you grow up, it won't matter, right? Well, it matters in that moment. So validate the pain, or that
Hmm.
pain is going to be stored in the body.
Yeah, and it's not going to be processed and what's crazy too is like I feel like people don't really know what therapy is. And a lot of the time, it's just someone listening to you in a non judgmental manner because a lot of people don't have someone safe to talk to or a safe space. And they think, like, oh, I'm just going to go to therapy and it's going to get solved overnight. It's like an ongoing process of
Yeah.
communicating.
And what's great is you're having, like you said, that non-judgmental, you're having a person that can hold you as accountable as you would like, but you also
Hmm.
don't have that person that gets mad because you didn't do it their way. Like they give you advice, but it's that kind of advice that's like, you should do it my way. Take my advice, but do it my way. And what I like
Hmm.
to say all the time, with my situation with my husband, right, is my husband used to be that person I could talk everything out with, and he's very opinionated, and he's very, my way is the best way and the only way.
Hmm.
Know it all. So it was like a very interesting situation here. But now I don't have that. So now if I'm like going to friends that I trust with situations, ultimately I'm asking these people who may or may not be affected by the decision that's made to help me try and make a decision. Their investment level is a bit different
Hmm.
and they may have emotional ties to it. So being able to have a therapist that you can go to that doesn't have necessarily that emotional tie or connection or all the history,
Hmm.
it can just be the person that you could talk things out with, and they can help you with different skill sets that you didn't learn as a kid because we don't value our mental health in school systems, right? And we've gotten to a point since World War II and the shift in the family dynamics, we just hand our kids over to a school system and expect the schools to teach them all the things. Like,
No, exactly. And it's so wild is I'm in a class right now. We're learning about the history of therapy. And like in the United States, it started around then because the US was behind on technology. So they were like, how do we get kids into STEM? Oh, we'll have school counselors. And that's how we started.
and then that's another thing too, is like so many people also like school counselors are there to help with school-based stuff, not
Mm,
necessarily brain-based stuff. So people are like, "Oh, I went to the school counselor," and somebody very close to me went to their school counselor, disclosed some information. Well, the school-based counselor, not the brain-based, like mental health-based counselor, guess what she did? She went and told the person's mom everything she said. happened to that person's home environment?
Yeah.
Good job. You just increased her ACE score. Like,
Yeah.
because the the person that came to me thought that they could go to their counselor, and they're like, well, I thought you could trust counselors. I thought what you told them that they weren't allowed to tell anybody else. It's like, oh, that's a different type of counselor.
Well, like, and also like something I learned too recently is like no matter what type of counselor, your first session, you have to say what like a school counselor, for example, would have to say, hey, if you're gonna disclose to me that you've done drugs or drinking, I do have to tell your parent. So you have to, you know what I mean? Like you have to lay out the you can't just like blind side someone. That is
Mhm.
wild.
Yeah.
The world.
And what's sad is this person like disclosed family troubles. And then it just made the family troubles worse when the counselor went and said blah 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 blah. But when I called and said, "Hey, I have someone who reached out to me who's needing supportive services," that's something I do. I don't promote it on my website. Like I get people who reach out to me all the time, and I help connect them to different resources all over the U.S. Resources, therapists, whatever they need that's going to help them that moment. So when this person reached out and was telling the story, I ended up looking up the school and calling the school and said, "Hey, I would like to report this person for this and this and this and that." And they're like, "Well, she's not licensed." I'm like,
Wait, what?
"So she, yeah, because that's how at least, and maybe that's something like in Oklahoma. She's not like a licensed social worker or a licensed counselor. She's just a school counselor. So her job is just to like help. Okay, you want to take this class or that class? It's more like like an advisor, like in college." Yeah.
Okay, that is okay. Something that is wild is state by state, there's different laws like for counseling. And I know that's for a lot of different areas too, but it's just so wild how state by state it's so different.
Yeah. And then that's where it gets really frustrating too, because I'm like, what in the
Yeah.
I found out that, yeah, where that school is that, yeah, their
Well,
counselors, they don't have to be licensed. I think you see that a lot also in rural areas too, because access is hard, right? Like
mhm,
access to any kind of healthcare, right?
mhm.
It just access to like internet and civilization. I don't know, that's me. My parents live like in the middle of nowhere and they love it. And I'm like, no, I need
Yeah,
civilization. I need Wi-Fi. Okay, that's how I live my
yeah.
life. I'm not
I need
ashamed.
a balance, right? I don't know. I need downtime, but I need to be able to like see people.
Yeah. Like I love a good vacation in the beach. I'll just like go lay in the sand. After I had a conference and it was really exhausting and I just had a lot going on in my life and I like changed my flight and I was like, I'm just gonna leave a day early and I'm gonna go a state over and I'm gonna go just go lay on the beach for a few hours and just reset before I go home. And that's
I
what I
like
did. I changed
that.
my flight so I can just go lay on the beach for a few hours. I was like, okay, now I'll go home. I'm better now.
See, okay, and that is a good tip too for like mental health and like just knowing when you need to take a break.
Yes.
I like you, I'm someone that I like full schedule. I like to be on the go, but I know people are always like, "Oh, why do why is your calendar so full?" I'm like, "I like it like that, but I do listen to my body and when I have to take some downtime, I do it." And like it sounds like you do that too, which is good.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder with my husband's condition because he needs 24/7 care. So there's a lot of logistics that goes into it. It's expensive.
Mhm.
Care is not cheap at all. So that is one thing that's a little bit of a oh, okay. But even just I say like take five. So I've had it communicating it too is like huge, right? So knowing like yourself, like recognizing like I just need to take 5 minutes, walk away from the situation, or go for a walk, or put your favorite playlist on. There's all kinds of research that watching your favorite movie or TV show or listening like to your favorite playlist is actually good. It can reset your nervous system because you know what's coming. That's why like, I
Mhm.
think about it like we can sing all these songs from high school, which is still so weird. We're like, how do I know all the lyrics to these songs? But couldn't tell you when my next appointment is or where I set my keys down. But that's like it's the brain like you reset you it instantly like calms you, which is really cool.
Comfort blanket,
Yeah,
like
so literally like taking 5 minutes to just like listen to a couple of your favorite songs or something can really help with that. But then also communicating that, which is really hard for someone like my husband's condition who he has a cognitive condition. He doesn't understand sometimes. Um, so that's super fun. But just telling him like, I need a minute, reassuring him
Mhm,
like I will be back, but I gotta take five,
mhm.
and I'll be a better caregiver when I come back. And there's times like in the hospital, I had a call a nurse in one time and I was like, can you just sit with him for like 10 minutes so I can go cry in my car real quick and then I'm gonna come back? And she's like, oh yes, do you need more than that? I was like, I think a good 10-minute cry will be good. You should be fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, you'll be
Yeah, yeah,
a couple Tylenol, and then I'll be back.
yeah,
And that's like exactly what I just needed. I was like, I haven't slept at that point. It's like I haven't slept in like 2 or 3 days. I'm completely exhausted. I just need to go ahead and finish breaking down, put on my
yeah,
little crying playlist, knock it out, and then okay, put the peppy playlist on, and then go back in and get things going.
yeah. And thank you for sharing what you do, because I think that's beneficial. I mean, even so my son Wilder, he was a little colicky, and my sister-in-law told me, she's like, if there ever is a chance, like a moment where you just feel like helpless, she's like, lay him back down in his crib, he's safe in there, just go step in the other room and just breathe and then come back. And there was a lot of times where like I would just take like a few minutes and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
it, it
it's
works.
better. And in the moment, like at first you feel guilty about it, but like
Mhm.
for me, one of the things that I've always wanted to travel. Like I love traveling. I love seeing places and experiencing new things. So I get a lot of respite when I physically leave my house and go somewhere else, even if it's for like a couple days.
Yeah.
I know that. But in the beginning, it was so hard to leave my husband alone for like an hour.
I know, I could see
You
that,
know,
yeah.
so you think about like a newborn mother, it's
Mhm.
just it's really hard because that's the love of your life, the person, and then you're entrusting them with somebody else. Even like as a baby, right? You're still like, can I trust my mother or my sister or my best friend? Like, mm,
Yeah.
I want to,
Mhm.
but you have to get to a place where you're okay with that. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes that's where the guilt of self-care gets people. But
Ah,
knowing that for me, I'm a more effective caregiver,
when you have, yeah.
better for my husband, and I take better care of him because he needs me in a state where I can be better for him.
Well, it's just like on the airplane. Oh, I just flew
Yeah.
home from Florida. You have to put your face mask on first.
And of course, we all listen to it and we're like, well, duh. Like, but we don't do that on a daily basis for other
Yeah,
things,
it's
like
a needed reminder.
water. Like, we don't drink enough water, right? Because we're too busy taking care of other people.
Well,
Oh,
before I let you go, because I thank you for giving me this much time today. Um, I just really quick want to touch on, we met through pageantry. How did you get into pageantry? Like what made you get into it?
yeah. So I always love like, the sparkle and the glitter and the dresses and everything. And I just thought like, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, I'm old, I'm married, like that's not an option. So there was a different system I was looking at and I was like, oh, this is probably like it. And I'll save some of the details. I ended up not competing in that system, but I was like, there's gotta be something else for me. And of course, Instagram, pops up all
Mhm.
these ads. And I totally thought it was an Insta scam, but I applied anyway. I remember being in physical therapy and I was like, whatever, let's do this, right? And I'm like applying in there and they're check, did they send you an email? I was like, they did. And I was like, oh, now they want the money, right? This is totally a scam. I said, but their website looks updated. So I'm gonna do it. But I did it because I wanted something outside of my husband.
Mhm.
I lost my identity, and I was like, I need something for myself. So I
Mhm.
did it because I'm like, I just want something for myself to do. And it's not something that it's not a program I'm running. Because that
Right.
happens all the time. I'm like, I'll just take on the leadership position and oh, here we go. I want something I can just enjoy. And then my dual identity as a business owner, but also as a caregiver. So I have this professional and personal experience that are both very valid. And I've really enjoyed being able to compete in pageants. And my favorite part is meeting all the wonderful women like yourself and being able to connect on all of us are wanting to make a difference in our communities. It just looks a
Mhm.
little different, but at the end of the day, we're all wanting world peace. We're all wanting a better world. We're wanting to leave things better for the generations after us.
For sure. No, and I totally agree. Me getting into pageantry as a married woman is different than when I was a miss. It was like I love being a mom and I love being a wife and I like being career focused, but I wanted something for me and I totally get it. Well, hey, you have a title right now.
I do.
What is
I
it?
am Mrs. Petite World's America. I put the MRS. There is an official MRS. There's no classifier there. I just say it that way so people know like I am married. But the formal title is just Petite World's America, and I'll be competing for the international title for World's America in August of 2026. So
That
I'm
is
really
awesome.
excited.
Well, okay, I want to share information about your pageant system that you are having a title in and that you won this past summer. So if you don't mind just like emailing me some of the links you want me to share, and then I'll add it to this post on social media.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to share more.
Yay! Okay, well, I will let you go, and I appreciate your time, and I very, very, very much appreciate your transparency and all the information you shared.
Yes, for sure. And if there's ever anything you need from me, um, you know how to get a hold of me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, girl.